second scripture reading this morning comes to us from the book of Psalms, Psalm 23. Let us listen now for God's word. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of our Lord endures forever. I invite you to pray with me. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for this time of worship. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to gather here in this place at your church, and to further our understanding of who you are, God, and how you want us to live. This morning we ask that you would open our hearts, that you would open our minds, that you would open our ears to the good news of your scriptures. And Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. It's in your holy name we offer this prayer. Amen. In a world filled with so much chaos, and in a world filled with so much distress, we need to be reminded of the good news that the Word of God has to offer. This morning we look particularly at Psalm 23. It's a psalm that surely, without a doubt, has made its mark on our society. You could even say it's made its mark on our Christian society today. If we think about it, we can see that Psalm 23 is a favorite among many people. I know for me, it is one of my all-time favorite psalms, and I'm sure that this could be the case for many of you here as well. It's a psalm that often brings flashbacks to my days of Sunday school, where I remember having to memorize it, and then being forced to recite it to my Sunday school teacher so that I could go outside, get my snack, and have some free time. It's a psalm that is often framed and found in hospital waiting rooms, churches, kitchens, living rooms, dining rooms. The list could go on. Yes, the list is endless. And we all know it's a psalm that is read and proclaimed at funerals, giving peace to those who mourn. All of this said, it's hard to think of a place in our world, or even our society, that hasn't been impacted in some way, shape, or form by this psalm. It's a beautiful and it's a remarkable passage. It's a passage that reveals so much about the complexity of this thing that we call life, or what the psalmist refers to as a walk. It's a walk that can be both joyful and terrifying. It's a walk that is filled with multiple highs and lows, and it's a walk filled with clarity and uncertainty. And so it is through this passage that we begin to catch a glimpse into what a relationship with God, our divine shepherd, is really like. But for a moment, let's go back to the passage, because there is so much going on and there's so much there that I think we need to understand. In the beginning of the passage, if we look particularly at the first few verses, the first 3 verses to be exact, we can see just how beautiful a life can be when we see it as a walk in which we are accompanied by God. I mean, if you just open up your Bibles and you look at this particular part, it won't take you long to realize that the imagery here is just absolutely astounding. Those images of the green pastures, the meadows, the open plains, the images of the still waters, the right paths, the refreshing and cleansing of one's soul, all work together to create those feelings of peacefulness, those feelings of tranquility, those feelings of safety that only God, the divine shepherd, can provide. We start to see that our God as shepherd is not a distant God, no, but rather a God who intervenes with us, personally walking and guiding us through life, giving us a sense of comfort and renewal. Yes, these first 3 verses show how idyllic a walk with God can be, and so we think to ourselves, nothing could possibly go wrong. Life is just perfect, isn't it? But as we know, the psalm doesn't end here. As the passage continues, this shift, this contrast occurs. The text moves from this place of awe, this place of serenity, to a place that's dark, a place that's scary, a place filled with terror, even a place where evil seems to lurk. And so it is at this point in the passage, and more specifically in the psalm, where we get introduced to that harsh reality. It's the reality that life is not always easy, or peaceful, or beautiful, and that in something as short as a blink of an eye, or the snap of a finger, everything can change. And before we know it, just like David, we find ourselves stuck deep down in the darkest valley, just as the psalm mentions. But when we find ourselves in these difficult life situations, we ought to open ourselves up to God, our divine shepherd, and really listen to what David says. If we look at verse 4, I read it earlier, but I want to read it again because it's so important for us to cling on to in these times of need. It says this: even though I walk through the darkest valley, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. Why? For you are with me, your rod and your staff. They comfort me. You see, this idea of feeling trapped, this idea of feeling buried, this idea of being stuck down in the valley, looking up, and not being able to see the light, while as scary as it is, shouldn't really concern us. Because what arises in this passage, what's so beautiful about this passage, is this semblance of trust that's created. And it's a trust that is not something that's one-sided, it's a trust that is mutual. It's a trust that we share immediately with our God. Even though in our walk of life we experience these periods of all-time lows, we can place all of our trust in God, knowing that He will provide, walking with us hand in hand, step by step, each step of the way. And so just as a shepherd guides his sheep from a place filled with chaos into a place of safety, yes, our divine shepherd does the same exact thing for us. You see, this isn't just a passage that can be read at funerals. This isn't just a passage for those who are close to passing away. It's also a passage for the living. It's a passage for all of us walking that ever-changing walk with God. As a matter of fact, there was a time in my life where I found myself trapped and stuck in what appeared to be an insurmountable dark valley. Let me tell you a story. In January of 2012, during my freshman year of high school, my father was diagnosed with an extraordinarily rare form of cancer, a rare form of pancreatic cancer. It was so rare, in fact, that out of the 319 million people in the United States today, only 8,000 of those individuals are diagnosed with it in the U.S. each year. Now, I'm no mathematician. Math really is not my strong suit, but when you plug those numbers into a calculator, you'll find out that that's less than 1% of our population. It's a horrible disease. A series of neuroendocrine tumors had developed on the tip of my father's pancreas and had spread to his liver by the time they were first discovered. And to this day, I will never forget that conversation that I had with my dad after our family dinner the day he received his diagnosis. My father said to me, he said, "Connor, look, buddy, the news is not good. One day this cancer will take my life, but you know what? We're not going to let this get in the way of us as a family and us living our lives to the fullest." And if I'm going to be completely honest here, as the next year or so, a year and a half went by, I often forgot that my dad was even sick. During the winters, we traveled all throughout the northeast of the United States, where we lived at the time, going to different mountains in Pennsylvania, New York, and Vermont, where we learned and developed a passion for snowshoeing. The fall, the spring, the summers could be characterized by numerous rounds of golf, the construction of a fire pit in our backyard, a couple trips to, because we lived in the northeast, the infamous Jersey Shore, some half marathons, and so much more. It seemed like everything was perfect. However, during the winter of my junior year of high school, things took a dramatic turn. In a hospital room in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on a Monday night, a cold Monday night in January, my father looked at me and he said these painful but yet beautiful words. He said to me, "Connor, I need you to walk with me. I've only got about a week left to live. You've inspired me spiritually, and I need you to finish this earthly journey with me. I know that I've always cautioned you about the financial security and ministry, but please, son, please forget that. You were made to do this, and I need you more than ever right now to walk me to the other side. Can you do this for me, son?" I think it's obvious, and it goes without saying, that I'll probably never forget that night for as long as I live. It was during this time that I drew on my faith and trusted that God, the divine shepherd, would guide me as I walked the final steps with my Father. Sure enough, as the doctors had predicted, as they had thought, a week later my father passed away. And as his request, I was with him till the very end. I can distinctly remember the moment my father died. He opened his eyes wide. At this point, he wasn't really able to talk. He was kind of out of it. But he opened his eyes wide. He looked me right in the eye, and his eyes pierced through mine. And he took his last breath and he faded back. You know, I'm convinced that it seemed it was his way of telling me thank you. And that he had arrived at the gates of heaven, and that he was with his Father, his heavenly Father. For him, his earthly journey had come to a close much too soon at the age of 51, yet mine and my spiritual journey was practically just beginning. You see, it was during this trying time in my life that I trusted and turned to prayer, praying harder and more often than I ever had before. I can't tell you how many times I cried out to God, asking him to make sense out of all of this. Throughout all of this time, I put my complete and total trust in God, my divine shepherd, desperately trying to escape this pitch black, horrible, dark valley, just as the psalm mentions. But I thought to myself, God didn't heal my father. Why? Why did this happen? What was God trying to show me? What was God trying to prove? And as often is the case, a few months later, that light bulb went off. You see, I'm a strong believer that God reveals himself in the lives of other people. In this case, I believe and I stand convicted that God revealed his will and his purpose for me through the life and death of my father. It was at this moment that I began to realize that God used those events with my father to offer to me and to extend to me my call to congregational ministry. And although my father is no longer here, his Spirit, like the Holy Spirit, lives within me not only this day, but all the days to come. That day was January 12th, 2014. Here we are, approximately a little over 5 years later. honestly say with sincerity in my heart that I am at peace with that event and with my life. Now, did I want that event to happen? No, absolutely not. But that experience of trusting and walking with the shepherd during that trying time allowed me to discern just what it is that God is calling me to do. And I say to you this day, honestly, I would not have it any other way. Because if it wouldn't have happened, I don't know if I'd be here today. You see, God took me by the hand, and he led me from a place of darkness and into the light. And you know what? This is the good news. He can and he will do the same exact thing for every single one of you here this morning. All we have to do is trust him. Now, some of you here today have loved ones who are suffering from cancer or some form of disease. Some of you here today might be recovering from past medical or surgical procedures. And maybe some of you here today find yourselves stuck right in the middle of that dark and scary valley, looking up, trying to find the light, and thinking to yourself, Lord, God, when is all of this going to get better? But you see, no valley is too deep. No valley is too great, and no valley is too dark for God's miraculous healing light to shine through. The good news in this passage promises us this, that we have a divine shepherd who guides us, who walks with us, and is there for us not only in the beginning, but in the middle and in the end. He's with us throughout the entirety of our lives, from our highest points to those very lowest points. We just have to trust him. And just like we learn about in the psalm, he will provide. And so my challenge for all of you this day is to not merely be comforted and encouraged by this good news, but rather to go and share it with others, share it with your family, share it with your friends, share it with all your loved ones, your neighbors, all of those people that you come into contact with on a daily basis, so that they too might be comforted and encouraged by it as well. I want to leave you with one more verse this morning. It comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 28, verses 19 through 20. It says this, "Therefore go, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and surely I am with you always." I love that. I, God, am with you always, to the very end of the age. Let us rejoice.